remember to start very pale, and you can start with either colour. If you want to start with the sienna, that's fine, but just make sure that the washes are pale to start off with. You're mapping out the composition in a minimal way. And I would start with the shape that's nearest to you, and also any cast shadows. I've got some wonderful cast shadows this afternoon, so I will be pushing those in.
Sue?
Yes?
Is this wet on wet or wet on dry?
I've dampened this, so it's wet on wet, yes.
Okay.
But with this one, with the actual shape, I didn't do wet on wet, just to begin the thing. I've actually just used very thin washes. But when I build it up, I probably will use a bit more wet on wet.
Thank you.
I would also caution you when you're, like, I've put my cast shadow in here, but be careful that you don't take the wet cast shadow up to the wet shape. You have to wait a bit until the shape is dry, because otherwise, of course, they'll bleed into each other. And just stop you for a minute. In order to judge where the next shape should be, I've got a glass over here, which you can't see my subject. So I've actually held my brush out, like this, and I've closed one eye and lined up the end of my paintbrush with the edge of this little shape, in, you know, the real thing, and then run my thumb down to the other side of it, so I get the width across the top of the object. And then I've compared it with the space that's between that object, the edge of this object, and the one next to it, to help me position the shape. It's just over halfway, so I know that my next shape has got to be, it's got to start about here. Okay, so also it's further back. The bottom of this is further forward, this shape. This one is further back, so I will be drawing that further back in the picture, so higher up in the page, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense? Remember to, you know, keep using your brush in different ways. So in some areas you're going to use the flat of the brush, and some areas you're going to use the tip of the brush. The tip of the brush really is useful for defining the actual shape, you know, the drawing with. I think it's also helpful if you're not sure about where to place the center of an object. If you draw the center line, just very lightly draw the center, go through this from the middle of the circle down to establish where the halfway point or where the stem is, you know, like in this object here. So I get the thing as sort of symmetrical as I can. I mean, this is a bit of a misshape, this one, but anyway, it's useful to know where to place the stem and the base. But I've adjusted the height of the stem of this, and it meant that the edge of the bowl, that's this part of it, had to come down a bit lower. So it's down to there. So in order to do that, I've got to wash off this. So I'm taking my sponge and I'm literally washing out that first line that I put down there because it's not quite right. And it also looks as though I've got to adjust this. You just want to stop and look at how little I've actually put on the page. I mean, it's all very pale, but I've got my composition in now. It was sort of indicated a line here, which I'm not quite sure if it's actually straight or not. It probably isn't quite straight, probably needs to go up a bit. It's quite good to just indicate the back of the surface on which the objects are placed. And then whatever you're going to have in the background, I'm going to have a couple of verticals there. So my composition, I would think about it all at the same, the same point, not just go back to it at the end. This is something to relate everything else to. So